Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome today's webinar. Really glad you guys could join us. By the way, if you haven't watched one of our webinars or seen any of the videos, I'm Dr. John Lohr with the Science Olympiad National Office. And I'm really excited about this one today because um, I know a lot of times, and we often get a lot of questions when it comes down to your binders and how should you organize them, how should you use them, and where like what's important to make sure you have available to you when you're participating in a Science Olympiad tournament. And think I found a fantastic presenter for you today. And we're going to get to Essam in a minute. And I will give him so he can get started and get into the nitty gritty. But I just want to remind you guys of a couple of things. One, we're going to use the chat if you run into any technical problems. So if you're like, hey, is it cutting in or out, or is it it's my computer seems to be lagging. Please put those kind of questions in the chat and we'll let you know what's going on there. But if you actually have questions about the topic tonight and organizing your binders and looking for tips on studying or how to master all that information, please put those questions in the question and answer feature. And you're going to see that it's a little box with the question in the Zoom toolbar, kind of on the right-hand side. But if without further ado, why don't we go ahead and I'll turn it over to Essam from our fantastic partner at Prequel and let him take it away and talk to you guys tonight. So, Essam, it is all yours, sir.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the introduction, John. I really appreciate it. I just want to see if you can write in the chat. Can you see my screen? Just want to make sure everyone can see my screen. If you want to just write like yes in the chat. Oh, perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was quick. Awesome. So, I'm gonna keep it a little bit general today. But again, I'll leave some time for Q&As. I really just want to make sure it's worth your time and I can be as helpful as possible. But what I want to talk about is how do you use AI to study smarter, stay organized, learn faster? I'm really excited to be here today because to tell you a little bit more about myself, actually, let me just go here and tell you a little bit more about myself and then go back. So, my name is Essam. I'm from Ottawa, Canada. Prequel's actually been to Science Olympiad conferences before. And when I was in high school, I absolutely loved math and science. I wasn't a huge biology fan, but I loved chemistry. I loved physics, very much like interested in STEM. And so I had a really hard time understanding lessons right away. So like I would be in a physics class and we would study, electromagnetic waves or kinematics or Newton's laws, things like that. And it would take me a lot of time to understand things. So I actually, in my 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, had a tutor that I would see often. Obviously, at that time, AI was not even existent. Nobody even knew what artificial intelligence meant. So I actually had to pay a tutor. And it was obviously very expensive, but the tutor helped me a lot understanding these things. And so I loved the concept of tutoring so much that when I was in university, in engineering, I founded a tutoring company. So basically, we would help students with physics, math, a lot of math help, science, all of the above. I was building that business, and then when COVID started, we started teaching kids how to code. Um, and then after that, I transitioned and started working at Canada's fastest growing startup in the software space, again in a technical role. And then after that, I started a digital marketing education business. I sold that business, and now I work at Prequel, and I help students build projects that help them get into their dream school. I've spoken at NACHSS, FBLA, HOSA, DECA, and I really am very, very passionate about where AI is going. I know a lot of people are kind of pessimistic about it, to be honest, for lack of a better term. They think that it's, going to ruin a lot of things, but I see that side, but I also see the other side of it where it's going to help level the playing field for a lot of us. And for someone like me, And I'm sure for a lot of you here that might require a tutor, you actually now have basically a 24/7 tutor at your fingertips. So, I guess in the chat, if you just want to write, I really just want to get a better understanding of like where everyone is. So, do you use AI for school? Like, do you use ChatGPT? Do you use these kind of tools? What are some of your favorite studying tools? And what's kind of like your biggest challenge? Okay, so I'm seeing a few people saying no. I use my notebook. Yes, no. Encyclopedia. Okay, perfect. Bit meaningful literature. Need for help. Use Mathway. Yes. I use AI for everything. Okay, Victor, that's awesome. So I'm seeing a lot of different things. I'm seeing yes, I do. No, I don't. Yes, I do. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Okay, perfect. So kind of a mixture. I understand why some of you might not want to use it, but again, I hope that by the end of today, you're seeing some ways that you can use it, as well as how to use it and what tools. So to get us started, I want to talk about one, the study dilemma, right? So I think that this is what I went through as a student, and like if you relate with this, let me know. But for me, being in class, very fast paced, especially with like AP classes and things like that, sometimes it was difficult for me to find the time to truly understand things. So I ended up just memorizing. So like, you know, uh, let's give an example. Let's give a physics example. For some of you people here that are interested in physics, like E equals mc squared, right? The most famous equation in the world. Um, if I didn't have a lot of time, I would just understand, okay, mass speed of light squared. But, then I would get a question on a test that might give me mass in grams, not kilograms. And then I would forget to convert it. And I think one of the reasons why is because, like, I just memorized it. I didn't fully understand these things. And so what that does is it's not a long-term solution because now I'm not truly understanding what I'm studying. I'm moving on to the next chapter, the next phase, and now these things are coming back. And so, yeah, I might get a good grade or a decent grade, but I didn't fully understand the concept, and I don't think that that's very good. Um, and so drop in the chat here if like you've done one of these. So like you've copied notes without truly understanding it. You use ChatGPT to finish your homework. If your teacher's on the call and you don't want to admit it, I completely understand. But if you've ever done okay, so I'm seeing some Everly said that number one. I love the honesty, by the way. All of these, sadly, that's awesome. I was like, yeah, maybe people don't want to admit it, but I'm glad. And I understand. Like I completely understand, right? You're strapped for time. I mean, you're in Science Olympiad, you might be in a few other clubs. Like time is really of the essence, right? Now, I just want to preface here, like, if you don't have a good study system, if you're not organized, you can't just use AI to get out of it, right? It's not gonna work. Like habits are everything. Um, and so what's um what's the right way, right? So I kind of want to introduce a study cycle that I think might help you. But number one is to gather the key information, right? So when you're taking notes, sometimes you write so many things, you're learning so many things, but what's like really key information, right? And then we want to clarify it. So we want to summarize and try to simplify this key information. And then I think one of the best ways to learn something is to challenge yourself or test yourself, especially in math. But when you get into physics, you get into chemistry, you'll start doing a lot of math. And I think it's a really good way to understand it. And then apply it or teach it. And I actually think when you teach something, it forces you to think of it in very simple ways. So the fact that you can teach something means you've understood it in a really, really deep and effective way. So I think that like studying with classmates and like helping a classmate when they're struggling, it's obviously very selfless, but in a way, you're also using it to learn. So here's the AI advantage, and I'm not going to be biased here. I'm also going to discuss some disadvantages, right? How it can help you get ahead is obviously speed and efficiency, right? Like, again, you're strapped for time, unlimited access. So if just for some of you here, I'm a big ChatGPT user. I know some of you here use Gemini, but like ChatGPT has a feature where you can talk to it. So you can literally like talk to ChatGPT and it'll answer you back. And you can also share your screen. So you can like record, you can send screenshots. So it's really easy to like take a screenshot of the physics notes that you can't understand or the chemistry notes that you don't understand, input it there. One of the things I love to do is some prompts I love is like asking ChatGPT, explain this to me as if I was 5 years old, or give me an analogy of how this applies. So if I'm trying to understand um, Newton's law, right? I'm trying to understand every action has an equal and opposite reaction. I believe that's the third law. Um, I would ask ChatGPT, like, give me an analogy of how this works, right? So that's one of the ways that I really like using it. Structure, obviously, being organized is everything. Um, I'm not gonna sit here and lie. Like I was at times very disorganized as a student and like I'd forget to study certain things and things like that. So um instant feedback gives you really quick answers. You don't have to email the teacher and wait till the next day. Personalization. So I love analogies. Like it's so much easier for me to learn something when I can understand the analogy of it. Um, Active learning. So it really encourages me to like think deeper. Um, and again, very, very efficient. But how it can make you fall behind is like, again, if you use it for your homework or you use it for an assignment, you didn't understand that. So the issue is that when you go to your test, you can't bring your computer with you. You can't bring your phone with you, or at least I would hope. So you're gonna have a hard time because you didn't really understand it. Weaker memory, easy things don't stick. You lost your critical thinking. And I think the most important one I want to talk about here is overdependence. So like if you cannot learn anything without using AI, that's a problem, right? Because you need to be able to understand these things. You need to be able to do the beginning yourself and then use AI as like a study partner. So think of it as like your like tutor that's always there with you in your phone or on your computer. So obviously, AI can make you smarter, but it can also make you dumber based on how you use it. Sorry, pardon my wording. But make sure you have the right study habits and the mindset while you're using it. So I want to talk about some ways to study with AI. So obviously, number one, like I talked about, is capture. So like turn chaos into clarity, right? Really be organized. Session one or chapter one, subsection one. Um, Here is like everything I need to know about it. AI can summarize that for you. Be very, very organized. So I love to call this like the digital second brain. Basically, it's like a second brain online. So, for example, like if you use Notion, which is one of the tools that I want to talk about, or one of the tools that I think you should look into, really helps you be very organized. Notion.io. Google Drive, obviously, that's where you can upload PDFs and things like that. Um, be very structured. So, like, for example, you can, in your Google Drive, you can have physics, chemistry, earth science, biology. Inside physics, you can say, like, chapter one, chapter two, chapter three, chapter four. Inside chapter one, you can have, like, lesson one, two, three, four, five, things like that. Um, Make sure you like upload all these PDFs, all the slides. If your teacher sends you any recorded instructions, you can actually put it into an AI tool like Otter, so Otter. And Otter can provide you transcripts. So basically, it'll tell you like, here's the summary of what the teacher discussed. Um, and AI can obviously auto summarize, right? So here are some of the tools that and feel free to screenshot this. So basically you have ChatGPT or Claude, you have Perplexity, really good with citations. You have Notion AI, Glasp, and then Otter.ai or Fireflies. And one of the biggest things that I want to talk about is there's this term called prompt engineering. So it sounds very fancy. It's actually very simple. When you use AI, the way you prompt it matters so much. So if I just give AI a PDF and I say, explain this to me, like it will just explain it to you, but it might give you such long answers, but it might not tell you exactly what you wanted to hear. Versus if I say, summarize this document into three core principles and two real world applications. I'm a little bit confused about how kinematics works. Give me a few deeper examples on that. I promise you it'll give you a way better answer. Or something like extract all definitions and formulas from this document and organize them by topic, right? Um, for example, like if I'm uploading an equation, I might ask it to explain to me like why is E equals mc squared? Why is energy equals mass times the speed of light squared, right? Like explain to me how that works. What's like an application of that? So now when I'm in the test and they are asking me to rearrange the equation or they're asking me to solve for something, I know what to do, or I have a deeper understanding of it. And obviously clarify, like make information make sense. So like you take your notes, turn them into something you can understand a little bit better. And I think AI is really good at that. One of the things I also love about AI is that it learns over time. So if you have like an like let's say you're using ChatGPT and you have a GPT that you keep using, over time it learns. So if you say, "Oh, actually I'm realizing that when you explain it this way, it helps me so much." Well, now it learns that. So when you go ask it another question, it now knows how you want to be communicated to. Um, Obviously simplifying complex ideas. I love the like easy enough for a 5 year old. Like explain it to me as if I'm 5 years old. It just helps so much. And it kind of instructs the AI to be very simple when explaining things. Um, and yeah, you can basically what I'm trying to get at here is like you can build your own system. So, um, for example, like you can mark a sentence you cannot explain with a red flag emoji. You can ask AI to simplify. You can rewrite things in your own words. Create a mini concept card. Confirm with a quick quiz. Like there's really so many ways you can use this. Um, Again, these are some more tools that you can use. There's a tool, I don't think I have it in this slideshow, but there's a tool called Quizlet, and one of the ways I really liked using it, and now obviously it's like more AI based, but just doing practice exams, right? Like I think practice exams is a really, really good way to learn. So if you can, for example, go into Quizlet or go into ChatGPT and say like, I have a test in 1 week. Can you generate me like 20 multiple choice questions that I can practice with? Um, so here's an exercise that you can either take some time to do it now, but I actually think it might be better to maybe screenshot it and do it on your own time, is choose a Science Olympiad topic that you're currently studying, and within that topic, find a paragraph or a concept explanation that's like a little bit dense. So meaning like it's a little bit difficult to understand. Um, input it into an AI tool that you choose. So let's say ChatGPT and ask, summarize this in three key points and generate three critical thinking questions. And then rewrite the summary entirely in your own words. The reason I like this challenge is because we're balancing things where like we're not asking AI to do everything for us. I still think it's very important to have your own voice, your own thinking, your own decision making. Um, but I think AI is like a very good assistant, is the way I would call it. And then challenge yourself, right? So like, you need to experience a little bit of struggle. So I think great learning happens when you struggle in a productive way. Um, repeat things and do practice questions is something that I think is really, really important, and really achieve that like mastery of the topic. And so practice, review, and then reflect. So I'll give you an example here, right? Like if you know that you have a test in 2 weeks, right? I think that the first step should be you building your plan on what you're going to do for that test. So let's just say today is Wednesday. I have a test in 2 weeks. on a Wednesday. So now I'm going to say, okay, this test includes chapter one, two, and three. Perfect. Now I'm going to create a study plan or a test plan for this. So I could say in the next 4 days, I'm going to read all the notes, use AI to summarize them for me, understand everything, and get really yeah, just get a really good understanding of everything. And then I can say, I'm gonna spend the next 6 days just doing practice exams. So I can ask AI to create multiple choice, short answer, things like that. Again, create flashcards, do all these things. And then I would say actually take the questions that AI gives you. Don't use AI to answer them, but like answer them on your own based on what you've learned. And then give it back to AI and be like, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? Um, and really just like increase your repetition, right? So like again, I can't stress how important it is to like just really make sure that you practice repetition. Um, Again, there's Chat Doc, there's Study GPT. We actually did put Quizlet here, so these are some of the tools. Like one of the ways you can prompt it is just say, create a 12 question quiz from these notes, six multiple choice, four short answer, two real application, increase difficulty if I score above 70. So you're literally working with it in real time. Um, and then turn your learning into output, right? Like applied what you've learned to build, teach, or share something new. Again, working with classmates, if you're doing group projects, if someone's struggling with a concept, I think by you finding ways to teach it in a simple way, it actually makes you understand it a lot deeper. So here's what I want to challenge you with. Is to build your AI study stack. So like you've learned the principles and now I think it's time to put them into action. So basically, we want you to have one AI tool that you use for each of the steps. So one AI tool for capturing, one AI tool for clarifying, one AI tool for challenging, and one for creating. Um, and so if you already have one, like if this is kind of like a bonus challenge, but like, so experiment, like choose one AI tool and use it for every study session this week, document what works and what doesn't, then build something with your knowledge, practice problem set, study guide, experiment design, anything like that. Reflect. So like ask AI to analyze your study patterns, suggest improvements. Again, you can learn and grow with the AI, which is something that I really, really enjoy, is like it kind of grows with you. And then share. So like try to teach a teammate what you learned. Um, and these are just some things for you to remember. So, like, AI is really just your study partner, it's not your replacement. So, use it to think deeper, but not to avoid the thinking. Again, I think one of the worst things that can be done is like when you get an assignment, you put it into ChatGPT, you get the answers, and like you have no clue what even spit out, right? Um, so I think it's just very important that like you use it as a thinking partner, not as someone to outsource tasks to. Um, the goal is understanding, not just being efficient. Um, Something I didn't touch on a lot is like question its output because AI is not always correct. Like it's getting better. It hallucinates less, but it's still not perfect. So like there are literally times where it might tell you something that's just totally false. So you do have to fact check. Um, and then just build systems that scale with your ambitions. I think again, like the more you tell it about the way that you learn and your goals and objectives, the more it can kind of be your study partner. And so, with that being said, I just want to explain a little bit more about Prequel and what it does, and then we'll kind of go into Q&A. So, Prequel is a 1 year journey where students learn to build, lead, and think like innovators. So, essentially, we help students build passion projects that help them get into their top school. So, Joshua built a consultancy for helping students get into colleges after he got accepted into seven Ivy League schools. Corey built an AI public speaking app. Anya started a passion project in finance. So these are kind of some of the things that we help students do. It starts January 17th, and really we're helping you get into an Ivy League school by building out this project and increasing your chances of getting in. We also have a college advisor in the program. Um, but that's pretty much it. So I wanted to purposely not take up a lot of time with my presentation because I believe that everyone might have their own questions. And so I was just wondering if anybody has any questions. Um, and yeah, I would love to be able to help out.
All right. Thank you very much, Isam.
Of course.
You guys, feel free if you've got questions or you're looking for advice on um, how to put stuff together or use some of the skills that we just talked about. Feel free to go ahead and drop them in the Q&A. Here we go. Thank you, guys. So why don't we go with the easy one first? From Everly. She said, throws out, what is your favorite AI for studying?
So honestly, Everly, I love ChatGPT, and I'll tell you why. Like, one, I think naturally, like I used it pretty quickly. After it launched, I didn't get into a lot of the other ones, but one of the things I love about it is like it integrates with your Google Drive, with your Google Docs. So like if I upload something into my Google Drive, let's say for my physics class, I can literally ask it to refer to like the documents that I have. It obviously knows a lot of information, and I think I really like it's very user friendly and it can pretty much do anything you ask it to do. And again, I keep repeating the same thing, but it's like I love how it grows with you. So it adapts to your learning style. The more you prompt it, the more you tell it what you need, you can talk to it, you can share your screen with it. So again, long-winded answer of saying I love ChatGPT. Um, okay. What do you think? Sorry, John, do you want me to move on to the next one?
Yeah, go ahead. If you got them pulled up, feel free to tackle them in
Perfect.
any order that they're sitting here.
Yes. Could you give an example on how to implement AI into learning using one of the tools you mentioned? Sri, I'm not sure I fully understand your question, how to implement AI into learning. Um, if you just want to clarify it in the chat, and then I'll move on to the next question and I'll come back to yours. But are there any AI tools that do especially well at certain tasks? So, Sophia, that's a really good question. Um, I think Perplexity is a little bit better um, for example, like if you're in an English class or history class, like things like that. I think Perplexity might be a little bit better. It's known to be a bit better when it comes to research and citations. I think ChatGPT is more logical. So like if you're doing more like math, science, and when I say science, like specifically maybe more mathematical related sciences like physics, like chemistry, I think ChatGPT is better. So I think they're all very good at almost everything, but some of them excel more than others in some ways. Um, What is your favorite AI for questions? Quizlet's really good. Quizlet, I think, is really, really good for questions. Um, Sorry, Sri, I'm gonna get back to your question. So what I mean is like, how can you start using AI for learning? Okay, really good question. So Sri, let's just say, Sri, actually tell me what grade are you in? So I'll try to use a topic that you're learning. Maybe tell me, okay, you're in the eighth grade. So let's just say right now, you're studying science, right? You're studying chemistry and the periodic table, okay? The way I would use it is I would say, if I have an upcoming test about the periodic table, I'm going to go in there and say, here's the test that I have. I need to understand the periodic table. But instead of me memorizing that, like, oh, H means hydrogen and O means oxygen and C means carbon, like, I might actually ask it, how is carbon used? Like, how is oxygen used? Why is it, um, why is H hydrogen, right? Like, what does hydrogen do? Because if I get a better understanding of that when I'm in the exam or in the test and I'm asked what is the symbol or what is H or what is O, Now I have a better understanding of it. So that's like a really, really good way that I would use it. And I hope that's helpful. Um, what do you think we should watch out for while making prompts for contents for binders and cheat sheets? Okay, so that's a really good question. Um, I would say in the prompt, so this is gonna sound kind of odd, but if you tell like one of the things I would really mention in the prompt is like I would tell the AI if you don't know the answer or if there's ever a time where you don't understand what to do, let me know. Don't just give me an answer for the sake of giving me an answer. And this goes back to what I said about like how AI hallucinates slash doesn't sometimes just gives you like wrong answers. If you like I know again it sounds odd, but like if you kind of give it that confirmation that like it's okay, just tell me when you don't know, it's more likely to give you like things that it actually knows to be true rather than give you an answer for the sake of giving you an answer. Um, what
So,
type of, yeah,
okay, add on to that one. The other thing that I found useful is when you've asked AI and you know it has the possibility of giving you some wrong answers or leading you astray. Do another prompt or do another session and take whatever it just gave you and feed it back in and ask it to, hey, could you check this for any errors? And a lot of times it'll go through and it'll flag the errors and and make sure you ask, check it for any errors and let me know what the correction should be. Is also one way I've been able to get around that problem.
yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I missed that, but that's really, really good. What type of questions should I ask? Anson, it depends on what your goal is. So if you're, um, again, here's a good example. Like if you are studying physics and you're studying, again, I'm going to use it again, like Isaac Newton's laws as an example. And I'm like, I just don't understand law number one. Like, give me a real life example of how this law could be applied. And then, for example, I might say, here, I might go a step deeper. I might say, like, I love airplanes. Give me an analogy of how Newton's law is applied when it comes to an airplane flying. And now it can actually explain to me, like, okay, here's what happens. Here's how the law works in very, very simple terms. And now I have an analogy that explains it to me. And again, I keep saying, like, I think analogies are such an easy way to understand a lot of things. So from my experience, I found AI to be really good at creating analogies to help me understand things. Um, could using websites that turn studying into games like Gimkit and Booklet help with staying focused? Yeah, for sure. I mean, gamifying learning, right? Like if you like for example, for I'm not sure if it helps people in like grade 7 and above, but like IXL is a really, really good tool that like teaches math and things like that in kind of like a more gamified way. So I think like if you literally just Google like gamified learning AI, I'm sure you can find a lot of them. But again, you did mention a few of them. It depends how you learn. So if that's like one, and again, this is why I think like schools can sometimes miss this where they're not as personalized with each student. I think it's your job to try and be self-aware as to like how you learn best, and from there find ways using AI to accommodate that. So if you like to gamify things, great. If you need analogies, great. If you need something to be explained 10 times in 10 different ways, then that's how you learn. So that would be my answer to you. Any normal study tips? I don't know how to study other than my incorrect questions on a test, and I have an invitational in 1 week. So, Alyssa, I appreciate that question. It depends on the topic. So, if you're studying math, I think one of the best ways to learn is to do practice questions. Um, and I think I do chem. Okay, perfect. So, um, I'm trying to remember a chemistry concept. Obviously, there's the periodic table, there's like heat transfer, there's so many different things. But I think what I would do there is I would take notes first of all the things that I need to study for, right? And then based on how you learn best, so I'm going to assume that just making an assumption, let's say you learn by um, seeing analogies, right? I would then upload that into an AI, let's say ChatGPT, and I would say, hey, ChatGPT, I'm having a very hard time understanding these concepts for my test. Can you give me an analogy of how these things can be applied in the real world? And then ask me some questions. I will answer those questions to make sure that I actually understood what you just talked about, right? So, long-winded way of saying, like, in terms of study tips, I think number one is self-awareness. Like, how do you study best? Number two is based on how you learn best. Now it's time to like actually apply it. And just repetition, right? Like if you only study, for example, like and I'm guilty of this. Sometimes I tried my best not to, but like studying the day or two before, like it's just such a bad idea because you're so stressed out and like you're so not in control. I think using Notion or Google Calendar to like plan things out, like, oh, I have a test in a week. I have this is that, like, is a really, really good idea.
Yeah. Hey, can I piggyback there too as
Of
well?
course, of course.
Another big thing I'd say, Alyssa, is remember, like, I think a lot of times in school, we're all conditioned, like when we're taking a class, I want to get 100%. I want to be perfect, right? Because, that's kind of how your grades work. And it's a lot of times like how stuff is structured. A Science Olympiad event, no one is ever being perfect. And I don't care what level of tournament it is, whether it's an invitational, a regional, state, nationals, they're not, the event supervisors aren't writing the test to be perfect. So when you talk about, hey, these are my incorrect questions, you're 100% right. You want to like work on the things that you keep missing, right? Or that keep getting shown up as, hey, I don't quite understand this. But I'd caution you, don't get just stuck on those because everyone's going to miss something. And you want to make sure, as Essam talked about, like get yourself on a pattern where you're reviewing some stuff that you've already learned and you're still missing, but you're adding in some new material as well to make sure like kind of the full spectrum of everything that's going to be covered in the event.
Yeah. No, thank you, John, for that. Yeah. Um, Wallace says, for making a binder for the ID events, would you recommend any AI tools? I think Canva. Wallace, I'm not sure if you've ever used the tool Canva before. I think that would be really, really good. It also has an AI component in it. So, like, for example, like I'm not a great designer, but like I can use the AI within it. ChatGPT can. I don't think it would be as good as Canva. Um, but yeah, Canva has a free version as well. So I think that would be a good tool.
Hey, Wallace, let me add the other thing that would be useful. So for when we, in our vernacular, ID events are um, like rocks and minerals this year, or um, oh, am I blanking? Is it entomology still? I think we're doing insects. But one of the things that it could be really good for is you're going to get multiple sources. And like, let's say you have multiple things talking, like multiple field guides talking about a mineral. You could put those files into your AI and ask it to summarize and identify, like, hey, what unique information is being provided in this field guide, right? So maybe this one's got uses pictures, or this one describes the locations where you're going to find things way more. It does a better job of including maps. So that's something that the chat might be able to help you flag.
Yeah, for sure. Um, okay. How do you ensure that when AI is summarizing a section, it doesn't lose important information? Which tool is the best in summarizing sections that can reduce the size of a binder? So I'm beating a dead horse, but I think again, ChatGPT can work really well for that. Um, I think that when you say important information, uh, it depends on what you're being tested on. So, for instance, like again, I'll use an example, if you're studying physics or chemistry, or just science in general, I think that all information it can be important and you can be tested on it. I think it's more like get trying to get a general understanding and like you can literally tell the AI like, hey, don't like when you're summarizing, don't lose important information because all of the information that I'm giving you is very important, but just make it more clear and more efficient. So like if I wrote 500 words, maybe summarize it in 300 words, take out the filler, but keep everything that's important. So it's very attentive and like it listens to you. Um, so yeah, I would say that. Um, Someone in the chat also asked like thoughts on Gemini. I actually really lo like Gemini. I think it's very, very, very good. Um, ChatGPT is more like you can actually use other people's GPTs as well. What that means is like if somebody built like a grade 8 science GPT and they trained it a lot, so they gave it textbooks, they gave it all that, like that GPT is instantly smarter and ChatGPT lets you do that. I don't think Gemini lets you, but again, we're getting very advanced, right? And it's like for most things, I think they all work just as good. Just comes down to preference, I would say. Um, do you think asking ChatGPT to generate an image is a good idea? So, Caden, that's a really good question. I'd actually say no. I've and like I know I'm saying a lot of good things about ChatGPT, but like I think in terms of design, it actually isn't very impressive. Um, there's been times where I've prompted it like 30 times and it still doesn't get the image right. If you're thinking about image, I would say Canva. Canva's really good, very user friendly. It's, you don't have to be like a designer or anything like that. I think Canva would be a really good one for generating images. Is Quizlet its own AI or does it source its content from ChatGPT? So that's a good question. Quizlet is its own AI. I think it sources information from the general internet and the same way ChatGPT does too. Um, usually the source could be like they basically scrape the internet and like all the information that's available, and then they generate you answers from there. I don't know if Quizlet is free or not, but one advantage to using ChatGPT is like keeping everything central. So like instead of having to use Quizlet, this, that, like I just use one tool. Um, I don't think it's a bad idea to use Quizlet, but I think like getting really good at using one tool is just easier for habit creation. Um, and then what are some tips you would give for making cheat sheets really fast with the help of an AI? Also, this is about Hausa, but my event is medical spelling. Do you have any tips for that? I only use Quizlet so far. So, Derva, I think making cheat sheets really fast, um, define what you want in the cheat sheet. So, if you're in Hausa and you're looking to get something specific done, um, defining what you want. So like give me four, like for example, I want 4 bullet points of the most important things that I'm likely to be tested on in this upcoming test. Um, Here is an image, or here are all the notes that I drafted. Create me 4 bullet points for each topic. So, like, if I'm studying science and it's like plants, here's the 4 topics, like photosynthesis in between that, like the sun, like things like that. Um, I think that would be a really good way to do it. And you can do it within ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity, whichever one that you prefer. I see there's a question in the chat. So I built a circuit lab binder, and some of the equations that ChatGPT gave me were incorrect. I cross-referenced these equations with other science resources, and ChatGPT is really bad. What AI models are better for this? I've tried Gemini, it's better, but I want a really good AI model. So I'm glad you mentioned that because, like I said, ChatGPT does make mistakes. Um, I think that I would, so I don't know. ones that are like specific for that, but I would literally write in Google or in ChatGPT like what is the best AI tool for what I'm looking for here, right? Which is like equations and circuit lab binder. So try that. Um if you want to send me an email, I'm happy to also like look into it for you, but I'm sorry I don't have like a full answer for that.
And this may be one where you're going to have to do a little bit of work and kind of teach your AI. So one of the things you might be able to do is use go to something like OpenStax or Open Educational Resources. And these are both high school level and college level textbooks that are on the internet for free. And they're legitimate, they're created by colleges and universities. And this whole idea is they want to try and make knowledge free. What you could do is take a couple of those books, add them to your, have your add them to your chat, right? Upload them into chat and then ask them to, use those books and find the equations for the following, the following types of equations you're looking for. Might be a way to get better information out, right? And so instead of you trying to look through all the books, let AI look through all the books real quickly and pull the information out for you.
Awesome. Awesome. Um, is DeepSeek good? Yeah. I remember when it came out, like so many people were saying like, oh, ChatGPT is done. Because I think DeepSeek came out with like a faster model that was a little bit more cost effective. Um, I believe it was created in China, if I'm not mistaken, and like um I haven't used it too much. I'm sure it's very, very good, but I think like it's an interesting dilemma because I think that the easiest way to adopt a habit is to like do something every day, right? And like for me, I've gotten into the habit of um using ChatGPT a lot. And I think before doing that, I was like exploring. Like I was looking at Gemini, I was looking at Perplexity, I was looking at all these things. And I think once you decide like what tools you want to use, it's better to stick with them because you get more used to them and they learn more about your study habits. Um, so I hope that answers your question. Again, yes, DeepSeek is good. I don't think it's night and day difference from ChatGPT though. Um, is ChatGPT Plus worth it? So, Anson, I actually have ChatGPT Plus. I think it's like $20 a month, if I'm not mistaken. For me, I would say it's totally worth it. Like, there's so many extra features that it gives you. Obviously, with the free version, like if you ask it enough questions, it'll like max out and you have to wait till the next day. The Plus version doesn't do it. Like that doesn't do that. It gives you like you can do more things with it. You can access other people's GPTs. So I don't get paid if I say yes, but I would say yes. I'm very like I don't have any bias towards it, but I would say yes.
Yeah, and so I would agree. I ended up getting plus as well, and it's just because really the timeout feature started to get annoying,
Yeah.
right? You'd get into these conversations, and you'd all of a sudden hit the wall and find out, oh no, come back tomorrow and continue this conversation because you got to wait. Now, the one thing I will say is Essam mentioned, it's $20 a month. That may be something you guys, because you kind of take the cap off of it, might make sense for the team to get, or might make sense for you split the cost across all the kids who are doing your event. Might make some sense to, so it's not always $20 coming out of your pocket every month.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've seen a lot of people who get like one plan, one, email and password, and then each person has their own like GPT. So like you just go on your own one and you use it, and yeah, it makes it a lot cheaper if you split it with people.
And then hey, there was dropped in the chat. We got Julia gave us a tip on how to improve chat for equations. And it says, so if you're asking Chat GTP to solve the equations, right, ask it to solve it using Python. And that will help. She's found that that helps kind of remove some of the errors and the mistakes that chat occasionally will make.
Awesome.
All right. Anything else, everybody? All right. Well, if not, please say thank you to our fantastic speaker tonight. Thank you guys for making the time, and thank you guys for being great partners here with Science Olympiad. It's much appreciated. Like I said, we'll get the video as soon as we get it cleaned up. We'll get the recording out to everybody so you guys can look at it later, and you can come back and look at the slides and some of the prompts and examples that were shared earlier. But otherwise, wish you guys luck on your season. I hope for those of you that are celebrating, partaking, or involved with Halloween, have a happy Halloween this Friday. Enjoy the candy. Otherwise, all the best of luck on your season, and hope to see you around. Oh, one last plug. We have a couple of webinars coming up in November next week. If you're doing engineering CAD, we have a webinar on Wednesday on engineering CAD. Following week, we're going to do one on Code Craze, and we will get to Circuit Lab also in November. You can check out the Science Olympiad workshop page at soinc.org and to find out and register for upcoming webinars. So thank you very much, everybody, and have a great evening.